Hey everyone, this is Liam and Nick. We're here to record our set review for the new Dragons of Tarkir set.
Yeah, absolutely. The set's like not super full of like really awesome, sick new cards for the Canadian Highlander format, given that it's a big set, but there are like a few which make the cut.
Yeah, I think the relevance to Canadian Highlander is going to be minimal, but
Okito.
There's some exciting cards. So let's start with white and go around in color order.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first card we have that we're looking at is Anafenza, Kintree Spirit. So this card like gets into all the white weenie decks really easily, I think. Or maybe not like really easily, but conceivably gets into them.
I think definitely. I mean, white weenie's playing Crusade already, and it doesn't impact the board on the turn it hits. It's not a warm body, and Anafenza is almost Crusade.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like, I think what's nice about her too is that, like, where you just get to like cast her as a 2/2, like a lot of the time that's going to make your curves where you're going like cast a 1-drop, cast a 2-drop, cast a 1-drop, and then another 2-drop like as your turn 3.
Yep.
Like those become really powerful with her in play.
Absolutely.
You're potentially making a very like strong individual creature, which is something I think that White Weenie like needs and sometimes struggles with.
Yep.
Right, like you get outclassed by like your opponent's Tarmogoyf or have trouble attacking through some wall creatures just because like all your creatures have like 2 or 3 power, and like a lot of the time that 4 power is like challenging to get past. And something that's kind of interesting about the way that Bolster works, if you just look at like typical power and toughnesses of white creatures, they tend to be X1s, and so Bolster will automatically go towards those 1 toughness creatures, meaning that like even though your Spirit of the Labyrinth is a 3/1, it actually becomes a 4/2. As opposed to your 2/2 getting bolstered to a 3/3, and you'd rather just have the 4 power creature than the 3 power.
Absolutely,
which is kind of nice as well.
Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward card.
Yeah, I agree.
So next we have
Dragon Hunter. Storm Breath Killer, except they never can interact in combat. So like this card's super obvious. Like it's another.
Are you playing Savannah Lines? Not anymore.
Well, you probably still play.
Maybe now you also play this.
We have 8 now or something. Like there's a whole bunch of 2/1s for 1. But like the deck, like White Weenie, Naya, like even some like just red white builds, like they all just want as many Savannah Lines as you can possibly have. Like the 1-drops are by far and away the most powerful creatures in the deck.
Here you go, and maybe sometimes it
blocks a dragon. Can attack through Thundermaw Hellkite.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Oh, so I'm very excited about this card.
This is a control card.
Not a lot of cards that are making it into Highlander in this set, and not many of them are splashy. And this one is very splashy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's 1 mana. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a lore counter on it. 3 mana puts another counter on it, and 1 mana makes it into an XX for all the lore counters on it. I'm picturing dropping this on turn 1 in a blue-white or Esper control deck and having a 5/5/6/6 out of nowhere turns down the line, or blocking a 3/3 in a really tight spot and trading.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so flexible. It kills creatures against Naya decks. It's
like a win condition. And
hard to kill win condition against control mirrors. You can't kill it with Wrath, and it doesn't die to your own Wrath.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm just super happy about this, and I think it's going to be a go-to win condition for white control decks in general.
Can you like see yourself really aggressively like tutoring for it even, or do you think it's like something that you'll play and if you happen to draw it's fine? Because like I do think this card potentially suffers from like it's a bad top deck. But even though even then it's not the worst top deck because you can actually pump mana into it right away. Right?
That part's really important.
So it's like I guess it's good on 1 and fine on 10 because if you have 10 mana then it's just like a 3/3.
I think you're allowed to play win conditions in your control decks.
Right? Yeah. Okay. Fair.
You can play a couple.
Yeah.
Especially if they're really hard to kill. That's all right. That's not the end of the world.
Yeah, for sure.
And especially in a control heavy meta game, then this is going to be relevant.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like definitely like a really difficult condition to remove, right? Like enchantment removal is like played, but not to the extent that like creature removal is, or planeswalker, or even like ways to deal with planeswalkers.
Yep. I'm currently playing Esper Charm and Vindicate. I think those are pretty standards.
Yeah.
There's some set of Oblivion Rings, but more and more people are playing Disenchant, and I think that's real.
Yeah. Well, I think people are moving away from Oblivion Rings too, which means that this card's potentially even better.
Because Disenchant is getting better.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, overall, like super sweet card. I like it. Another sort of control card. Maybe it fits into some other shells as well.
I don't know. I don't know.
This card's really interesting to me. Like it was previewed by Luis Scott Vargas, who has previewed like Siege Rhino, Thragtusk, Bonfire of the Damned. He's gotten some good ones over the course of time.
Don't get me wrong; it's going to be very strong in standard.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, like many of those cards see fairly extensive play in Highlander as well. Less so Siege Rhino yet, but soon.
So, what does it fit into?
Yeah, this is the weird thing, right? You're probably not playing in a control deck.
And in an aggro deck,
it's too slow.
The top end slot is way too crowded. The 4-drops are. It's got to be as good as Hellrider to make it in.
Yeah,
or Koth.
It's obviously not a Hellrider, and it's double white too, which is like not something that a lot of decks are looking to play.
Yeah.
But what I actually envision this in is like potentially a shell almost all of its own at this point. Because if we look at like...
You mean like a blue-white tempo deck?
Yeah, like a blue-white. Maybe you're like dipping into red as well, or like maybe you're dipping into black. I haven't exactly worked out like what the composition of the deck is. But I think that recently, like, the last couple of sets have provided like a bunch of like white creatures that go very well with like playing a bunch of non-creature spells. Like, you know, we have Monastery Mentor as well. And so like the cards are starting to exist to play kind of like an interesting mid-rangey deck. I think it's probably blue-white.
So in the Fate Reforged set review, we were talking about the possibility of a blue-white tempo deck because enough cards were getting printed that slot into this deck so nicely and look awkward in every other deck.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, basically, the multicolor nature of this set has been saying for Ojutai / Jeskai has been trying to get people to play that.
These like tempo-y
in a way that Azorius never really managed to do. Mm-hmm. So, hey, they really want us to do it. Someone give it a shot. I think it's exciting.
Yeah, and I know like Riley's like played around with playing blue-white before, but I think that these cards want you to be like slightly bigger. So it'll be interesting to see whether someone goes bigger.
It's not the same as blue-green tempo where you've got mostly 2-drop creatures.
Or blue-red even, where you're playing a bunch of 1-drops. Like I don't think this deck wants to play all the Savannah Lines, for instance.
Yes.
I think this deck is like really looking to be playing its win conditions at like
could be
3 and 4. But yeah, anyway, this card's really interesting.
Especially in a meta game where blue-white doesn't feel the need to play Wrath of God.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
this card could be really cool though.
Yeah, worth looking out for. I've been anticipating this one.
Oh God. Yeah, so like this card's just really obvious.
It's Impulse.
It's like marginally worse Impulse.
It is worse, but
yeah. I mean, like blue mages are always looking for more card selection, like, and this is
better than a lot of the card selection I'm currently playing in combo decks.
Yeah.
So, Reanimator, High Tide, possibly even Academy decks, I think are going to play this because it's another 2-mana.
Yeah, and this probably gets into sort of like the tempo decks, like some of the tempo decks that are already playing Index, like or already playing Impulse, not Index. Might want to play this card as well. Like, you know, I can see the sort of like blue-red tempo twin style decks that want to be holding up mana on your turn all the time, but want to have something to do with that mana. Like this card's really good for that.
Yeah.
Just do a little card selection, and like this card's like, you know, better than Telling Time, which people aren't really playing, and like, but it's like only slightly worse in Impulse, and Impulse is like a pretty widely played card.
Yeah.
So I think that this certainly gets into a bunch of decks that just want more card selection for sure.
So now we have look, hear me out here.
All right.
This is Polymorph. It rebounds, and then you get another Polymorph.
Double Polymorph today.
Instant speed. Basically, I've been slowly watching.
Yeah.
For
the appropriate time to play Polymorph.
There's a critical mass of polymorphs that you need. Oh, I see.
You need the right number.
There's a critical mass. You know, there's Proteus Staff. There's a mass polymorph. There's polymorph itself.
Right.
I think there's a functional reprint of polymorph already.
Yeah.
Now there's another one.
Yeah.
How many polymorphs do you need in order to have this like tempting? It's a blue-green deck.
Yeah.
Blue for dig and for polymorph effects.
Of course.
And green for token generation. And it only plays a couple creatures, probably Grizzlebrand and Emrakul.
Maybe Iona.
So, I don't know. I think we're looking at a deck that's just reanimated, but doesn't require 2 parts.
Right. It's just
it doesn't require like this awkward getting a creature into the graveyard part. Mm-hmm. Yes, they're all 4 mana, but we're talking biggest creatures in the game. So maybe we're finally here with Polymorph. I don't know. If not now, then someday we will
Yeah,
be.
pretty soon. I think this card's
Polymorph
interesting.
Doomsday Clock is ticked 1 minute closer to midnight. That's all I'll say.
Roast, excellent. So this is really interesting because recently Wizards has been like making more and more red removal, which like doesn't go to the face, but is really high quality.
Yeah.
Like this hits a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like
this is the ultimate of this. This is the most powerful.
Yeah.
Red hit a creature since Flame Slash.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Possibly better than Flame Slash.
Yeah, it's close. And like this is definitely trading equally. Like there's no 2-drop outside of a big Tarmogoyf that survives this.
Yeah.
A lot of the time this is trading up and like killing a 3 or a 4-drop.
Yeah.
Which is like pretty huge. Like
Flame Slash is getting played with Highlander, right?
Yeah, occasionally. Like it doesn't see enormous amounts of play just because like there aren't a huge amount of decks that are playing red that are like the control decks.
That are control,
the red control decks tend to focus more on like split damage effects.
Right.
But I think actually like Flame Slash is underplayed. Like I think more people should play it.
I've seen it a couple times and it's always been strong.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, people play creatures. The red decks don't want to get attacked if you're red control.
Yeah, so exactly. And like make no mistake, this is a control card. Like this is not.
Yeah.
We're not putting this in our aggro decks or anything like that because it doesn't go to the face, so it's not actually all that useful.
But consider, are you playing some suboptimal black removal spells in your black red something control decks?
Yeah.
Are you playing these awkward Path to Nowheres in your red white something control decks?
Yeah.
Consider just playing some damage spells like Roast and Flame Slash. I think that's
I think it's perfectly reasonable, and the spell's like very powerful. Yeah, certainly pushed. Speaking of divided spells, so this is just instant speed Forkbolt for 1 more mana, and Forkbolt sees a bunch of play.
Yeah.
Like especially like in the aggressive decks and in the control decks, like they both play it.
But for 2 mana, where you're used to seeing Arc Trail, and how much better is instant speed?
I think it matters. Like I think this card still has a place, right? Like because you can think of it as easier to cast than Electrolyze. Obviously, you don't draw the card, which is part of what makes Electrolyze so insane.
Of course.
But I think that the 2-for-1 potential with this spell is like still high enough that it gets into a lot of decks. And like if people are willing to play Forked Bolt, which granted only costs 1 mana, I think that there is certainly a world in which this card makes it into some amount of decks. Like I'm certainly planning on playing it in some of my like red control decks, right? Where like,
all right.
Where you're like already playing Arc Lightning.
You just want all the Arc Lightnings ever.
Yeah, like where you don't have like White Wraths or sort of mass removal from other colors. Like the sort of forked lightning effects are like really, really powerful, I think. And this one's like on the lower end of power.
I think it's
on
the border, but
like probably the first one that gets cut.
It's another Arc Lightning effect if you need all the Arc Lightning effects. So there you go, another option for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Bellstriker.
This is pretty straightforward.
It's a 2/2 for 1. And so what's interesting is like the design space for this card is really interesting because yes, it's a 2/2 for 1 and it's like really powerful. So in your typical rationale of how you want to build a mono red deck, you'd want 4 of these guys because you want consistency. You always want to have 1-drop, 2-drop, etc. But they did something very interesting, I think, by making him legendary.
Yeah.
So in formats where you can play 4 of this card, the decision to play 4 is actually like a much more difficult one. For us, the decision is like a non sequitur because
it's so easy.
We just play this one card, and
this goes in every aggressive red deck now.
Yeah,
it's very strong.
It's Isamaru in red. It's like better than Isamaru.
Lots of things deal 1 damage. This survives them. Its dash is super relevant.
Yeah.
Late game,
it's
you
a
got
much
5
better draw
mana.
on turn 6.
You just dash it every turn for the rest of the game. You don't even care.
Like what I really like about this card is that like this card can be Goblin Guide. But this card can also just be Samaru or like just be a Rakdos Cackler.
Before we move on, I got to quickly point out that Tim McInnes rightly says that this is an absolute insult that it's not a goblin.
Yeah,
that's a spit in the face.
A flavor fail, but there are no.
But he's Zergo, I guess.
There are not a whole lot of goblins in this set.
Yeah, it's a real shame.
In this world, even.
Yeah.
It's mostly orcs. Hopefully we get back to goblins soon.
All right. Sorry, goblin players, but for all the other red players, this is sweet.
Surak, the Hunt Caller. So this one's really interesting. The space for 4-drops in green decks is like really, really tight.
Right. So like this is competing with Vengevine, Thrun, like really heavy hitters.
Yeah, very, very good cards. And also like many of the Garriks or 2 of the Garriks are at 4 mana. Like there are a lot of good green cards that at 4 mana. I actually think this card like has the potential to make it into some of the red-green aggressive decks, because it has 5 power on its own. So you only actually need 3 more power on the board for this guy to just enter the battlefield as a 5/4 with haste.
So we're picturing a couple creatures or one 3-drop creature. He enters the battlefield 5/4 with haste on turn 4.
Yeah, and just attacks, right?
That's massive.
Yeah, which is like pretty good, pretty big life swing.
Yeah.
And like in the sort of like red-green aggro decks that are like maybe playing a few more birds than average, like the number of times that you get to go like mana dork on 1, a reasonable size 3-drop on 2. In fact, I mean the 3-drop only has to have 2 power, right? And then you cast this on 3, and I mean like you're attacking for 8 on turn 3, which is like pretty huge.
Yeah, and we haven't seen any mono green straight aggro in a long time, but that used to be a major deck, and it hasn't had any points. Nothing's changed inside the deck. The metagame's changed, but I don't think anyone's revisited in a long time. So this is a huge boon to the mono green aggro deck. If it's possibly an include in red green, it's definitely an include mono green.
Mono green aggro deck.
So,
yeah, definitely.
Hey, something to think about, something to check out.
Yeah. So we're on to multicolor cards, and this set
fantastic.
The sweet cards are really the multicolor cards. Like,
absolutely.
Most of the monocolor cards are role players, slight upgrades, or like things that we want more of, more indexes, etc.
Multicolor is doing things we haven't seen before.
Yeah. So many of the commands are pretty interesting.
So this is red and a green for choose 2. Your opponent can't gain life this turn. 3 to each opponent. Put a land from the hand on the battlefield. Creatures you control get +1/+1 reach until end of turn.
So at the very worst, this is Skullcrack.
Worst case scenario, 3 damage. They can't gain life. So maybe a 7-point swing against Loxodon Hierarch or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like it hits a Thragtusk, whatever. Like the potential is also fairly high that if you like have a large board, you have lots of creatures, you get to like cast this and like maybe like make them not able to gain life, so their lifelink creatures don't trade in combat very well. And,
a common mode is going to be you just got 2 creatures on an empty board, and it's 5 damage for 2 mana.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Absolutely. And I can even conceivably see explore Spike You as something people want to do.
Quite possibly.
I mean, seriously though, like if these red-green decks are actually like going out of their way to play a few more birds because they want to be hitting that 3-drop curve as quickly as possible and playing their 4-drops as quickly as possible. I mean, like. Yeah. Curving like Goblin Guide into this, play an extra land into like Hell Rider is great.
You have 4 lands,
right? Which is obviously
sure, but the whole point of the commands is they give you flexibility.
Yeah, and that's always like with charms as well. That's always been the strength of the cards, and the reason why the cards make it into decks is like none of the single modes are like wow, really blow you away with how powerful this is. But it's the fact that like you can see a situation in which all of the modes would be useful. And especially with these ones, you get to choose.
So there's 6 possible cards that this represents, and a large number of them are interesting, and some of them are situational, but that's a great thing about
and like so like 3 of the original Lorwyn commands see like a fairly significant play.
Absolutely.
In Highlander, Cryptic, Profane, and Primal Command all see lots of play. The other 2 not as much, but they can't all be winners.
So that's what we're going to be seeing here. Actually, we got some more coming up.
Yeah. Oh, so this is kind of interesting. So, Dragon Lord, you've been pronouncing it
Ojutai?
Ojutai?
That's what I've been hearing.
Sweet, sounds good. So I actually can potentially. You're more of a control player than I am.
Yeah.
But I can potentially envision this as like a type of control finisher. I think it fits more in like the style of control deck that like. That I've been playing recently, where you're like trying to pretty aggressively like Blood Moon and back to basics your opponent out of the deck. Out of the game, and then you want something to end the game reasonably quickly. But if you think about it, like Prognostic Sphinx was a card
that's the comparison I'm making.
Yeah, that was like pretty interesting when it got printed, and like it protects itself, it's flying, but 3 damage wasn't really fast enough. It was like an 8-turn or a 7-turn clock. It just like wasn't killing the opponent quick enough. And Scry 3 really isn't actually that good. Most of the time you're like scrying 2, and then the next turn you're like putting 1 on the bottom. This is very different, right? So this is when it's untapped, it has hexproof, so they're not going to be able to kill it like when you play it. The turn you play it, it's unlikely.
And next turn you'll have a counter spell, so it's going to be very hard to kill.
Right, and when it does damage, instead of scrying 3, we're actually anticipating. So we're like getting more card velocity out of this creature as well, which I think is something else that like typically you look for in a control finisher.
Oh, that's elegant. That
Part-
anticipate is in a set. I didn't notice that. Beautiful.
Yeah. So it's like it's one part consecrated sphinx, and then it's like drawing you more cards, and like another part sort of like Sigarda, in that it is a difficult to deal with reasonable clock.
Now I should say the bar on blue-white win conditions, control win conditions, is very high, and many of the win conditions in the deck do something when you're holding back a blocker. Battle Skull gets to attack anyway, and you're gaining 4 life a turn and dealing damage potentially. Consecrated Sphinx is drawing cards.
Anyway,
so most of the win conditions in the deck have these dual roles that you can actually play both roles at once. This guy doesn't.
Yeah.
It's hold back and have hexproof and be a 5/4 blocker, or it's be drawing some cards dealing 5 damage. But it's high on power level. I'm going to try it out personally.
Yeah. And as I say, like I think maybe it fits in a deck where you're being like a little more aggressive in like trying to end the game.
Maybe it goes in this blue-white tempo deck.
That's also possible.
Icy Brew coming up.
Exciting.
All right.
Next one. Dragon Lord Silumgar.
Silumgar.
Yeah, that name's the most fun to say.
Yeah, very fun.
So I'll be honest, when I read this card, I thought it should cost 5. I think that at 6, it's like it gets pushed a little too far out of the range of being like really good because it's quite small, but its effect is quite powerful. So this one, when it enters the battlefield, you get to steal a creature,
3 power,
or a planeswalker, Death Touch. So in creature combat, it's actually still okay.
Okay.
It's that it doesn't kill the opponent, but I guess theoretically, the creature or planeswalker you're stealing should be killing the opponent.
All right, but in control mirrors, it might not have any targets for this. And in aggro, 6 mana is just so much.
Yeah, 6 mana is too much in aggro. I'm actually potentially envisioning this seeing play in the sort of like blue-black fairies deck that won quite early in this year. Which is like a tempo deck, but can sort of go longer and isn't necessarily looking to like win the game with like 1 card in hand as their opponent's about to stabilize, but they attack for lethal. Like that deck's looking to like grind a little bit more, like mind twist you, draw some cards, while still like maintaining its tempo on the board and like winning with Bitter Blossom. And I can conceivably see that deck maybe wanting the 6-drop. I don't think it's incredibly likely. But like I think that's that's the home this card could potentially have. It's like it's a powerful and swingy enough effect that I think it warrants some amount of examination, even if it is maybe too expensive. As I say, when I initially looked at this card, I thought it cost 5, and at 5 I thought it was quite good. At 6, I think it's like possibly too much.
I think it's too much, hands down. So we'll let the crowd decide. As a quick aside, notice that Elder is now a creature type. This is new for this set.
Oh, yeah.
So here's my question. Are they going to go back and give Yavimaya Elder his comeuppance?
One would only hope.
One would only hope.
Second command.
Kolagan's command.
I think this is my favorite name to say of the dragons.
Fantastic. And great art here, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we got Lightning Bolt command. Unfortunately, it doesn't Lightning Bolt.
It's 2 damage.
3 mana. Return target creature graveyard to hand. Target player discards a card. Destroy target artifact. 2 damage to a creature or player. Yeah. I see this in Grixis control.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I've never played Grixis, so I
think in aggressive decks it's not getting enough value for 3 mana.
No, I don't either. I couldn't picture playing it in any kind of aggressive deck.
But picture it in Grixis.
Sure.
You're potentially getting back some sort of creature, maybe a Snapcaster.
Mage.
Who knows?
Get your Young Pyromancer back.
Exactly. If it just so happens to be there, that would be convenient. That would be nice. Mm-hmm. That's part of the flexibility of this.
At the very worst, though, it's like kill your thing, make you discard a card, and like maybe you get put with that like terrible choice of like, do I discard this land or the spell that is going to cast next turn?
Right. So 3 mana for kill a thing, and then there's card advantage there. That's real. Destroy artifact is very real. Because right now we've got Academy decks running around all over the place.
Yeah, very powerful for sure.
They're really prominent as a big deck. And then we've got Swords, are a big boogeyman for control decks. Grixis control is terrified of Sword of Fire and Ice.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot of decks that are searching for Sword of Fire and Ice with the Stoneforge, specifically because it's such a scary card.
I definitely, like last Monday, played a deck with 6 swords. Like I played the 5...
Absolutely.
The 5 colored swords and grafted war gear, which is the 6th sword, as everyone knows.
As everyone knows. That's real. So
yeah.
Yeah, and you can't play Disenchant. I mean, as a white player, I typically play Disenchant. Grixis players, they need to be slotting in these artifact destruction spells where they can.
Yeah, Vandal Blast is like sees some amount of play, but it's like, do you really want to be Vandal Blasting?
So Grixis players, you now have a red artifact destruction spell that can kill a creature at the same time.
Gets really good value.
I think you got to consider this. Ojutai's Command.
This
Boy,
is my favorite.
I had high hopes for the blue-white command as a die-hard blue-white player. What do you think of it?
All right, so I really like it, but I think that everyone I've talked to likes it for, if they do like it, they like it for a totally different reason than what I do, or they hate it. Are the two different options. So like, I don't envision this in a control deck. I don't think this is a control card at all.
So first, as a control card, we're looking at maybe it gets back Wall of Omens, Snapcaster Mage, Agent of Bolas. These are really the targets.
Oh, Agent of Bolas, yeah.
Baleful Strix is commonly in the graveyard on turn 4 or 5.
That's not bad.
So it can get these out. A surprise Baleful Strix, that's a big deal. Mid-combat Baleful Strix.
Yeah,
but
good value.
The vast majority of this time, this is going to be counter target creature spell and either gain 4 life if you're running low or draw a card if you're not running low. So are you playing Dismiss? Are you playing Remove Soul? If you're playing both of them, then I think this gets in your deck.
Sure. Not very many decks playing Remove Soul.
No. But are you playing Exclude? Then this is definitely better than Exclude. Are you playing some of the borderline counterspells like Complicate?
Yeah, Logic Knot. Logic Knot's great. Never mind. Sorry.
I don't know. With all the delve spells, I mean...
Yeah, it's true, actually. The graveyard's getting competitive. I deliberately didn't play Logic Knot in my, like, reasonably counterspell-heavy deck today, for instance.
I can't justify not playing Tasigur, Treasure Cruise, and...
Yeah, I was just playing Treasure Cruise and Dig Through Time.
And Dig Through Time, yeah.
And, like, wanted to use my graveyard. Like, I was a combo deck with Yawgmoth World.
So,
but, yeah.
Whatever this is replacing, I think it does get in the slowest of the blue-white control decks.
So, I think it gets into a totally different deck. So I think this card's, like, really interesting in, like, a blue-white-red kind of, like, tempo deck, or this blue-white tempo deck we keep talking about. This set is just, like, full of cards for that deck.
That deck, this is amazing.
Right, it's like, so, like, you sort of like traded some resources back and forth, and
they try and drop a big butt Tarmogoyf that's going to start blocking your 3/3 or 4/4,
and then you just like Ujutai's Command it, and you like counter it, get back my like young Pyromancer, and then the next you just go to town. Or even
big
better,
swing.
in the blue-white red deck, if you have 5 mana, you cast this, counter their thing, get your Snapcaster back, bolt them with your Snapcaster trigger.
Oh, that's very saucy.
So, like, I think there's, like, a lot of value to get from this card. But I can understand
You're picturing that. That seems fine.
Yeah,
I'm picturing the deck that just, like, so grindy. It says, okay, end step, turn 25, Ojutai's Command, get back Snapcaster.
This is the win
condition. Gets back... This is the win condition. Snapcaster gets back Ojutai's Command.
And then we, like, draw a card.
So you're drawing 2 cards off Ojutai's Command.
And then gain 4 life at the end or something?
No, just drawing more cards. And then you get back some Wall of Omens that died on turn 2. Like, draw 3 cards.
Was tragically roasted.
10 mana. So... I think it might have a slot in both those decks.
Yeah.
So it's worth looking.
I think this card's really cool. Silumgar's Command.
Silumgar's Command is even more disappointing.
Then which one?
The other one? Well...
Yeah, then Silumgar himself.
Oh, I mean then Ojutai's Command.
Oh, sure.
If you're a control player in Esper colors like me and you're hoping for 2 new commands that auto-includes in your deck,
excellent cards.
This is not it.
Yeah. I think that, like, the way that the blue-white kind of color identity was being pushed in this set, you were unlikely to get a great control card.
Yeah.
But I think it was realistic to expect a great control card from this blue-black color identity.
And
they failed. It's not the same. It's like I think the big issue is 5 mana. Leaving up 5 mana for a reactive spell is so hard.
I think at 4 this is actually really reasonable.
Yeah, at 4 this is great. Like I would like not really hesitate to play this, but the 5th mana really does make a really
unreasonable
significant difference. Like, don't get me wrong, the modes are powerful. You know, kill a creature, kill a planeswalker, great. It's a 2-for-1, like classic. Counter your big combo spell and like kill your Jace.
And everyone who plays Cryptic Command knows the flexibility of bounce something that I didn't manage to counter earlier.
Right.
Bounce the Sword of Fire and Ice. Now I can counter it.
Yeah.
But
it's just so expensive.
What do you play that's 5 minutes reactive? Nothing. For good reason.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I don't think this gets into anything.
The Planeswalkers. Excellent.
We've got 2 Planeswalkers in this set. The first one's Sarkhan Unbroken.
So Scapeshift is a deck that hasn't been played that much in Highlander. To much success, I should say. And I think that like this is the kind of card that deck really wants.
Scapeshift was getting played 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a red-green ramp deck that had what's that? Nelson's gonna kill me. What's that worm that you cast out of your deck? Pan-glacial worm.
I'm not familiar with this card.
It was a red-green ramp deck. It just dumped a bunch of stuff into play. It played Explore type effects. It's a ramp deck. It just played some big dudes.
Played some large creatures.
Yeah. Nowadays, it would be playing things like Genesis Wave and 6-mana Garruk. There's a lot of new cards that deck has access to now.
Mm-hmm.
And blue is always a potential splash in that deck. And here we have this.
Yeah, so I think this card like is really kind of exactly what that deck wants. It is a nice stopgap in between getting up to your Scapeshift point and like surviving those early turns. Like I think the proper way to think about this Planeswalker is like a 5-mana 4/4 dragon that like happens to bring a Planeswalker at 2 with it.
Right.
I think you're very unlikely to be playing this in plussing. Like in the situations where you are, great, you're really far ahead.
And that's part of the flexibility of Planeswalkers.
Right. But I think this guy's like potentially quite good in that he's gonna make a 4/4, and like that 4/4, like they're probably gonna have to choose which one they're dealing with.
Yeah, I mean, my rule of thumb with Planeswalkers is: does it defend itself the turn it comes into play? Does it stop itself from dying?
Yeah,
somehow.
Sure.
And this does. It makes it 4/4. But what deck does it get into?
Yeah, I mean,
really,
like,
what does that look like?
The one that jumped to me was was a Scapeshift style deck. It's interesting because there aren't a whole lot of like rug decks that want to hit 5 mana.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting. Like the only other ones that I can think of are like the pod decks are playing some 5-drops, but they probably don't play this card.
So I'll put this to you, Super Friends.
Yeah.
Are we at the critical mass? There's 20 to 25 Planeswalkers that you can put into Super Friends right now.
Yeah.
When's the last time someone gave that deck a chance?
It was Blake, I believe.
Yeah.
Who recently sort of got out of the scene a little bit. It's interesting that deck had a lot of like prison elements in it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's entirely possible that we're at sort of a critical mass point now, where like especially with Ugin coming in as like a second kind of like really significant Planeswalker who takes over the game immediately, much like Karn.
So hey, somebody give it a shot. Sarkhan's just one more Planeswalker for your Super Friends.
Another tool
at the very least
in the belt. Yeah, definitely.
And then finally, there's a new Narset Planeswalker now.
And Nick's been complaining about the lack of good blue-white control cards.
Well, I'm just always going to complain.
Except for the enchantment, I guess.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited about that 1-mana enchantment. But so,
do you like this card for control decks?
Everyone is saying, look at how high its loyalty is.
Right.
But I have to be realistic as a control player. If I'm tapping 4 mana on my turn, and I'm not affecting the board, what am I going to get out of that?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to draw a card every turn, like Coalition Relic, that is worth it. I think Coalition Relic is good. Narset is not Coalition Relic.
Yeah. Certainly not.
How many non-creature non-lands are you playing in your typical control deck?
Probably about half your deck.
50 or so.
Yeah. Probably playing 40 lands.
And 8 to 10 creatures.
8 to 10 creatures,
seems about
seems
right.
like reasonable.
Yeah.
So you're like 50%, 50% to draw a card.
That's half as good as Coalition Relic.
Yeah.
It has an enormous loyalty, but I think every aggro deck is happy to ignore it forever. It is not ever going to take it over. It's not like existentially scary for a creature deck. If it's getting close to 6 +1 7 8 9, if it's inching up towards either the turn you put it to 9, if they really think, oh, I would like to
Cast
some burn spells at some point later on in this game, then they can attack it or deal the damage to it.
Yeah.
They can throw 1/1 at it. They're not terrified of its ultimate at all.
And so here's my issue, is that in the control mirror, the abilities all seem great, but actually, what's interesting is that it doesn't protect itself in the control mirror, and the fact that its loyalty goes like very high is actually the least relevant, right? Like the control mirror is the situation in which this gets like vindicated, right? Or like, God forbid, someone's playing like Hero's Downfall,
right? But keep in mind, in the control mirror, the ultimate is actually game
like a huge threat. Yeah, of course.
So this is a must vindicate in the control mirror.
Yeah.
So that is relevant.
You do have to kill it. Like it's definitely.
I don't know.
It's definitely not a good planeswalker against aggro. Like just like simply put, I mean like people,
tempo.
People have
tempo
said
doesn't
like
care either.
People have said like, oh, you can rebound your wrath. And it's like, well, okay, you get a turn off of your opponent playing spells. Like
we're not going to win the aggro match or any creature match by rebounding wraths and getting one more turn out of not dying for one more turn. You need to land something that's going to start gaining you life. That's going to take over the game. Some sort of Consecrated Sphinx or Batterskull. This is not that, and this doesn't help you get to that.
It also doesn't help you from being hit by Stigma Lasher.
Oh. No. I know. I don't know. It's a control mirror card.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Which
the
is
grindiest of grindy. It is not a coalition relic, and don't pretend it is.
Yeah. And so what's really interesting about the Canadian Highlander format in particular is that like in the sort of the Australian system and other Highlander formats, people play with sideboards. And I think in a format where with sideboards, this card would make a bunch of sense. But for us, it's kind of challenging because we have to evaluate each card in its capacity in every matchup, not just one.
It's true. And
I think the real question with this card is, does its utility in the control mirror outweigh the fact that it's a fairly dead card in the aggro matchups? And I think that like balancing that question will be what ultimately determines how much play this season in Blue-White X control decks.
Well, if deck building were an easy thing, everyone would do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm interested to see if people play this. And
yeah, absolutely. Me too.
So I guess that's all we've got to say about the new set, Dragons of Tarkir, for the Canadian Highlander format.
Yeah, don't forget to leave a comment below. Tell us what you think. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at CanadianHighlanderMTG@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out our blog at CanadianHighlander.wordpress.com. Lots of content going up there all the time. It's really interesting. We'd love to have more people join the community, ask questions,
Absolutely.
further the development of the format.
Thanks for listening.
See ya!